Hey friends, today I'm going to talk about expenses and output of my garden. And I'm going to kind of treat my garden this year as a little business. So what I do for my day job is I do financial information for a company. And so I speak in dollars a lot of the time. I spend a lot of my time thinking what makes sense in dollars and cents. So what we do for that is we call it a P&L. And P&L sounds super complicated, but it really just means profit and loss. What did we make versus what did we lose? What did we bring in versus what did we spend? So last year for my garden, I did keep track of the 2022 harvest of how much food I harvested. And then I translated that food into dollars by saying, okay, if I were to have gone and bought 80 heads of garlic at the store, how much would that cost me? And then I would use that and I would go on the day. So the day I harvested that garlic, I would go on my phone and I would go to the local place where I get my groceries and I would see what they were charging for a head of garlic. If they had organic, I would take the organic price since that is the way that I'm growing. If they didn't, I just choose whatever price. I used the most closely comparable thing. And when I did that, it gave me a number and I kind of saw how much money my garden saved us from buying at the grocery store for 2022. And I did that to just kind of convince myself that I was not hurting our family financially by pouring money into my garden. So that was just kind of my experiment for last year. This year, one of my goals, I've got my February goals. I talked about those in a different video. I'll leave them a link to that in the description. But one of my goals is to track my chickens this year because of all of the high prices of eggs. I wanted to see how much I'm paying for a dozen eggs right now. Now, I'm not only keeping them because it's cheaper, because I think that a lot of times when eggs are very low, you'll find that it's not cheaper. But I'm doing it because I love my chickens, because I know exactly what's going into those eggs, because those chickens are taking my food scraps from our dinner, stuff that would have been wasted, and turning it into new food for us, eggs. So there's lots of reasons why I'm doing eggs from chickens, but I did want to take this time and compare and kind of see where we're at. So what I did is I started keeping track of all of my expenses for my chickens or for my garden in 2023. Now, I did not do this last year. Last year I just tracked how much I brought in, and that number I cannot look at because it's on my phone, but it was almost $1,000. And I didn't even track everything. I stopped about into the middle of August when things got hot and heavy. I lost track. I'm gonna do better this year. But I made myself this cute little spreadsheet on my computer, and it has a bunch of formulas in it, so it does the math for me once I got it all set up, which I did. And I'll show you how I'm going to track this. I'll bring you in closer to it to go through it, but pretty much I'm going to keep track of every expense is going to get put onto this sheet. And every time I harvest, whether it be eggs or vegetables, or if I sell bouquets, or when I do my seedling sale, anything that counts as food savings and or profit from a sale of something, it's going to go onto this list too. And I'm going to see at the end of, I don't know how often I'll look at it, but see what my current cost of an egg is, and I'm going to see what my current profit loss for my garden is as we make our way through the months of the year. So I'm going to show you what that looks like right now. Okay, so this is my sheet. I printed it out. I also have it saved on my computer. But the top half you can see is chickens and the bottom half is garden. As we get going in the season, this will get much larger, but for now I don't have any harvest, so it's pretty easy. But at the top it just says 2023 Homestead P&L, and that's just me keeping track. It's just profit and loss. Don't let it throw you and make you think it's more complicated than it is. Here's detailed expenses of things that I pay out, and here's detailed harvest of things that I bring in. So far this year for chickens, I have made one purchase of a 25-pound feed bag and a seed block to keep inside the coop to help them just get a little extra protein when it's cold out in January. And I have harvested 15 eggs and 18 eggs so far in February. So I've got 33 eggs in for a cost of $40.26. Now, you have to keep this in mind. Like, this seed bag is going to keep going for a while. So I didn't pay this for this straight up. But as the eggs come in, this number will look different. So right now, I'm currently paying $9.84 for a dozen eggs right now, but that number will increase the more eggs I get. This will become a more real number. And after you get enough data, that number will become more accurate. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, ask me in the questions. But pretty much, I'm just going to be seeing how many feed bags it takes to get me how many eggs, and then see how that compares. So that's the chickens up here. That was one of my goals for this year. Now in the garden, here is what I'm going to expand on. These are the things that I have purchased so far for my garden in 2023. I have done too many seeds. And my gardener had a seed sale and I jumped on it and bought a bunch of things. Baker Creek also had a seed sale. I did the same thing. So those were before I even started looking at seeds. If you're very concerned about profitability of your farm, or if you're very concerned about doing this on the cheap, I would not do that if I were you. Baker Creek, my main buy, this is something that I budgeted for. I did sit down and make a very serious effort to get the things that I needed, and that was $52. I added ranunculus corms on here. I did buy these, but they were a birthday gift to myself. I'm not going to count them in my spreadsheet, but they did come in new, so I wanted to make sure they were accounted for on here, so I just put 0 on there. Every year I pretty much buy myself something new for the garden on my birthday. Potting soil, I've spent $70 so far because the first set of potting soil I got did not work. It was not good. It's still sitting outside. I will use it in the garden, but I did have to make a second round of purchase to get better soil. So that's about twice as expensive as it needs to be. And then I randomly, impulsively bought some carrot seed tape, because when you put carrot seeds on a tape, they are way easier to sow. They don't require thinning. So I've spent about $200 on my garden so far, and I have harvested nothing. So my current profit in the garden is negative $199. So as I start harvesting things, I will put them in here. So when I harvest my garlic, 80 heads of garlic, I will put the cost at my current store where I do my grocery shopping. Here, it will come down here where the 0 is at, and then I will have income from my farm, which I will then subtract from here, and then maybe I won't be profitable then. So the further I get in the year, the more profitable I will get. Garden expenses, for the most part, are pretty much mostly done. I might run across a couple more things to add in there. Feed bags, I'll be buying on a regular basis, but the big expenses for the year are mostly done. So this should just improve in profitability for me as we go on. I will also be putting any preservation expenses in here. So as I get into like June, July, and August, I might buy some more canning jars or canning mixes. Things for that kind of stuff will also get counted under my garden expense. All right. Okay, I hope that makes a lot of sense. Here is how I am tracking eggs with a paint chalk marker on my chalkboard fridge. So these are eggs that I have gotten for 2023. I have 6 laying hens, 2 of which I had at the start of last year that went through a molt and were not laying in January, and 4 of which were new this late summer and just started laying about mid-January. So I'm up to 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 42 eggs for 2023. Okay, so that's how I'm going to do it this year. I'm going to track my eggs on the refrigerator. I'm going to track my harvests on this little notepad thing I've got on my phone, and then I will go ahead and transfer those to my spreadsheet every so often and keep track of where I'm at in regards to profit versus loss, and seeing how much a dozen eggs costs me for the year. And like I said, this is not the main reason I'm doing what I'm doing. None of this has anything to do with cost for me, and instead has much more to do with making our family healthier, eating things more naturally, and just getting a little bit closer to nature in the process. But I like data. I like facts. I like to learn things. So I'm very interested to see how that breaks down in a black and white P&L. So I will go ahead and link my February goals video under here in the description for you to check out. And I will go ahead and update this once I've got a little bit more data in there to show you after things start rolling in from the spring harvest. Have a great day.